Hello and welcome to A Moment in Time with Nex. I'm coming to you live with a review and summary of this book by David Greene called Buy, Rehab, Rent, Refinance, Repeat. The BRRRR rental property investment strategy made simple. I would say simple is a bit of a strong word for this. He makes it as simple as possible, but I just want to be clear that this is not a strategy that everyone is going to be able to implement successfully. And one of the keys with this is about like who you know, what kind of advantages and privileges you start with, and being extraordinarily patient. So this is I would say that real estate investing is one of the most proven concepts for wealth creation and generational wealth and really becoming financially free. So it's a great strategy. It's one that I plan on implementing myself. This was actually recommended to me by an ex of mine who is a successful real estate investor himself. So I saw him day in, day out putting this whole process into play and finding good results and success from it. But he's not just like your everyday, ordinary, average guy. And I wouldn't say that I am either. So even though I plan on implementing this, I wouldn't say that this is for everyone. And this isn't necessarily going to be, the best focus of your time and energy to try to do this yourself, unless it is something you're passionate about or you happen to have pretty strong financial skills and knowledge. Not even necessarily knowledge, because you can read this book and learn everything in here, but some level of intellectual quotient, like IQ or common sense. Like there's got to be something there that helps you to successfully pull this off, because it's not easy to get all of these pieces correct. And it really, really helps if you were like born rich, if you have some rich parents and you have an advantage financially, or if you're already earning a lot of money and you have a lot of money you're trying to figure out what to do with, or if you happen to have a good network, or you're really a really strong networker and you could find the right people to put you in the right place in the matrix to pull this off successfully. So I do think it's a really solid investment strategy. It's like if you're right now currently hurting to pay your bills, it's going to be a long while before you can put this into practice. So this isn't for everyone, but for those of you who are interested, or maybe you're thinking long term, you have confidence in yourself and optimism that you are going to be able to get your finances in a really good position in the foreseeable future, then this might be something you want to keep on the horizon for yourself, which is what I did for a while until I was ready to finally take the leap and at least read the book and start learning about it. So let's go over each of the pieces. Again, it's the BRRRR method, the BRRRR strategy, BRRRR. So that is your acronym to help you remember all the 5 pieces. Step 1 is buy, and this is the most important part of the entire process. Then you have rehab, so you want to buy a property, you want to rehab it, which is another word for flipping. So this is where you fix up the property. You then rent it to a tenant or tenants. Then you refinance it so that you can repeat the process. Buy a property, flip it, rent it, refinance it, and do it again. And you just keep doing this. Once you've done it once, it'll be a lot easier to move with that momentum, because once you have a property, then you have something that you can flip and rent and refinance. So really, without a property to begin with, you can't do any of this. And if you rush this step, or if you mess this step up, then you're going to be screwed, to put it frankly. So the buy piece is the most important part of this strategy. So what you want to do is you want to buy a property that's undervalued. So you want to get something at a really good price. This is the same investment strategy that we talk about in a lot of my other investing videos, which are more about buying stocks and investing in a company when it's on sale at a really good price. And I follow Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger's strategies for stock investing, which I believe is way more attainable and way more realistic and manageable for the average person. So if you are paying your bills, you have your savings and emergency fund ready to go, however much you feel comfortable having as your nest egg, and then you have at least $1 to invest, then you can start investing in stocks and companies right away. If you want to do this, then you might want to be setting money aside to invest into this, but again, it's more of a longer term type investment for what I perceive as the majority of my audience. And you know, it could be a projection thing where like I grew up not well off financially, but I was born white in America with grandparents who had enough money to help out all of their children and their children's children and continue to do so to this day. So that's a big advantage that I don't think we talk about enough. I know I haven't talked about it enough in my 7 years of content creation. I don't talk enough about how privileged I am. I say that I'm lucky, but I had big advantages and continue to have those advantages that have helped me to get to a certain level. So I just want to like acknowledge that classism is real and bad luck is real. And if this feels out of your depth, then you shouldn't even mess with it. You don't even need to watch this video. Just like maybe go start learning about other kinds of investing. And first and foremost, invest in yourself. Start learning about things. So buying this book and reading it is a very solid, worthy investment. See what you think. See if it calls to you. Maybe real estate is something you're really passionate about. Maybe you have a special affinity for one of these pieces. Maybe you're really, really good at finding great deals. Maybe you have this really cool network of people. Maybe you're really good with your hands. Maybe you're very handy and you could do a lot of the flipping and rehab work yourself and you enjoy that. In which case, you know, you might want to get into this even if you feel like the financial piece is going to be hard for you, because that is going to be the barrier and the obstacle for most people. But if there's something else that gets you willing to put in the work necessary to get to that level, then I would say definitely go for it. So you want to buy a property that's undervalued, something that's worth more than you're paying for it, and this is going to be like sellers who are in questionable situations, like they're in a situation where they need to sell something quickly, so they're willing to lower the price more, or something that no one else really wants because it's so dilapidated and so like there's just so much work that needs to be done that a huge portion of the market isn't interested in the property because they don't want to flip the house. They don't, you know, a lot of people are looking to buy a house to move into, to live in, or even to rent. Not everybody wants to do the rehab piece. So you're looking for fixer-upper properties. You're looking for properties that other people don't want, people are trying to get rid of, and these types of deals are hard to find. They're more rare, and they get snatched up very quickly by other investors. So that's why I keep talking about who you know being so important, because you need to be finding out about these deals before everyone else. And that's going to be made possible by either you becoming a real estate agent yourself, or knowing a real estate agent, or knowing wholesalers, knowing the right people that he refers in this book to as rock stars. So you want to know rock stars in the industry. So networking is a huge component throughout the whole book. And he does talk in one of the chapters pretty extensively about how to find rock stars, how to network with them, and that, you know, a really big piece of attracting rock stars into your network and getting them to want to give you business and give you opportunities is by being a rock star yourself and having something for them. So again, you know, you have to be really creative here, and you have to be willing to perform at a very high level to get the right people in your network and to get the right pieces of the puzzle lined up to make this successful. Hey John, hey Superfro, how you guys doing? So you got to buy the right property. It's got to be the best price possible, and you have to know how much you're going to have to spend to rehab it. So you're going to need knowledge here. Like there's going to be a lot of research. You're going to be looking at a lot of properties, and most of them aren't going to be the deal that you're looking for. It's either going to be too much work, that it's just not going to be worth it, that you're not going to be able to get a return once you do all that work, or the amount of time it's going to take, you know, you're not going to be able to, it's going to like eat into your, let's let's say for instance you took a hard money loan from someone and you have to pay a higher than average interest rate on that loan. If you hold that loan too long, it's really cutting into your profit so much that it's just not even worth it. So it has to be something that like needs certain things that you can do to flip it and to increase the value relatively quickly and easily, that isn't going to require you to, you know, tear down the entire building and rebuild it from the foundation up. You know, then that's not going to be a good deal. That's not really what you're looking for. It doesn't fit into the structure. So I'm not going to go into all of the specific criteria he goes into here. If you're really thinking about doing this, it's not like some of my other reviews where I can give you the highlights and you can kind of run with what I tell you from the book. If you're really interested in this, you absolutely need to take the time to read this book or listen to it on audiobook or watch a podcast about it or something like that really goes into all of the nitty-gritty. I'm not going to be doing that here because I just, as far as I know, my audience just really isn't looking for that or needing that or going to benefit from that, and the time that it would take me to read this book to you is just not worth it for any of us. So if you get that piece right, if you buy the right property, you find it, you're able to actually get it yourself. Remember, cash deals go a lot further. So again, if you have a bunch of cash, this is going to be a lot easier for you because you go to the top of the list when you are putting in an offer on a property. If you're trying to take out a conventional mortgage on a property, or, you know, let's say some kind of government subsidized loan, like an FHA loan or something, like you're almost bottom. Like every other offer is getting considered before yours. So the type of financing that you're using is really important. If you can make a cash deal, then that's what you want to do every time. Like that's, I mean, he's a huge proponent of this. So one thing I want to kind of sneak into here. Sorry, I had it open and then I started holding the book and I lost it. But at the very back of the book, he has something called Arguments Against Burr. And I think that this particular page is worth reading. So this is about the money. So the number 2 objection is the Burr method takes too long. I want to get started now. This argument has its root in the fact that you need to save up more cash to buy than if you just save up a down payment plus reserves. For those who are impatient, this can feel like time being wasted when all you want to do is get started. Even though you get started later, taking more time to start is a wise investment if it allows you to burr over a significant period of time. The second reason I don't like this argument is it assumes the only way to buy a burr / fixer-upper property is with your own cash. That's simply not true. There are tons of ways to short-term finance a burr property if you're in a hurry to get started. Some of the easiest are, and I'm going to read this list to you, but I can hear my vocal fry. Let me drink a little kombucha here. We have the pomegranate blueberry Health Aid kombucha. They do not sponsor this channel. I just like kombucha. Yum. Aha, there we go. No, it's still pretty bad. Probably not drinking enough water today, so I'm sorry about the vocal fry, but the information's good, so bear with me. All right. So what he's saying here is the most ideal way is for you to be able to make a cash offer yourself. So if you want to do it that way, you need to have enough money. Let's say, I mean, are you going to be able to find a property under 50 grand, you know, 80 grand? Nowadays, like, I don't know, I don't see many properties below 100 grand. So in order to make a cash offer, you're going to need to have at least that much in cash ready to offer if you're going to do it with your own cash. So if you do want to do it that way, if you already have it, congratulations. If not, you need to really grind out your whole financial strategy. You need to work on whatever you're investing in if you have short-term investments that are sustainable and working for you, and get that cash flow up and get those expenses down, like cutting all of your costs, all of your expenses as much as you can, getting your income up. This is good, sound financial advice for everyone. Whether you're going to do the burr strategy or not, this is really, really important. I've recently picked up 2 side jobs. So I do my content creation business, and now I'm doing 2 side jobs that are just like little part-time things. Bookkeeping is one, and kava tending, which is like bartending at a kava bar, is another one, just to get extra money, extra cash flow, because I know how powerful a little bit of extra cash can be to offset any kind of expenses, things like inflation right now, and cutting your expenses. So just last night, I got my phone bill down to about half of what it was. I was paying almost $100 a month for one phone line, and I realized that I don't know why I was doing that. I was just on my ex's plan for a while, and when I came off to my own plan, I just went with it for the last like 2 years and was paying twice as much as I needed to. I have noticed no change from yesterday to today in my phone speed or effectiveness or functionality, and I'm now paying $51 a month. Secondly, I was getting weekly coaching, which I was paying a certain amount. I was paying $70 a session once a week for a 50-minute session. And now I have switched within that same company to group coaching, which is an hour and a half long session. So twice as long, actually roughly twice as long of a time slot, and half the price, $35 a session. So I've decreased 2 of my monthly expenses by half. And that's as if I just made all of that money each month, which is what? So 70, let's see, 35. So 140 plus 50, almost $200 a month that I don't have to make anymore. It's as if I'm making $200 by saving it, by not spending it, basically by cutting those expenses. So pulling on both of those levers, increasing your cash flow and decreasing your expenses, are pretty much one and the same. They have the same net effect on your business, or on your bottom line, on your net worth. And then any extra dollars that you have, you can pump into your investing, which will ideally increase your cash flow and definitely at least solidify and make you more financially secure and sound, depending on where you are at in your journey. Thank you, Fro. I appreciate that. He said, I always enjoy your talks. I feel like I learn something new every time. I'm very glad to hear that. I have been shifting my content away from the more lucrative stuff that I was doing, that I'm not as passionate about, to try to make more content like this, to help other people with things that have helped me, that I find really valuable. And just remember that I don't do this for free. I mean, I provide the content for free, but I have bills to pay too. So if you do find value from this content and you want to support it for yourself or for anyone else who gets to consume it for free, you can support me on my website. The link is in the description of this video. Thank you so much for considering. And if you do support, I can't say thank you enough. It goes further now than ever because of basically inflation and my shift away from the more lucrative content to the more mainstream content, which is more of a grind, which I'm passionate about and I love it and I'm happy to be here. But if you can support, super appreciate that. All right, so here's the list. Tons of ways to short-term finance a BRRRR property if you're in a hurry to get started. So these are alternatives to using your own cash for your cash offers. Partner with someone who has money. 2, borrow private money. This is like friends and family, like borrowing money. This is, again, if you have privilege and you have rich family members you can borrow money from, or your boss or someone, you can get creative and see if people will just basically loan you money for low to no interest. 3, use a hard money loan to buy and rehab, then refinance into a better long-term loan. So hard money loans are great because they don't have as many requirements to get approved for as something like a conventional mortgage, but the interest rates are much higher. So ideally, you would only take this out as a last resort and for a short period of time. So you want to be able to pay off that loan in a very short period of time once you get to the refinance option. So basically, you would buy a property, you would rehab it. Once you buy it, rehab it, refinance it. Once you refinance it, then you pay off the hard money loan and you go into a longer term, lower interest loan, if you're doing a loan at all. Take out a HELOC, sorry if I'm not pronouncing that right, it is an acronym HELOC. It stands for Home Equity Line of Credit on a different rental property. So hopefully you're kind of starting to see here, like, these are only options for people who have good credit or existing rental properties or rich family members or, like, you know, people that are rich in their network. It's not super attainable for everyone. It's possible and you can get it. And if you are in those classes, then, you know, go for it. It's going to be easier for you. But just know, like, I'm not trying to get up here and just act like it's so easy. It's so simple. Anyone can do it, you know, like, if you're feeling like this is out of your depth, then it is. Just like Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett say, don't invest outside of your circle of competence. If you're feeling incompetent, then don't invest in it. You're not ready for it yet. It's not going anywhere. Real estate's going to be around. Maybe 5 to 10 years from now, you can re-explore this and try it then. Next is take out a business loan for your business, which apparently you can get money loaned to. So again, good credit, good financial history, good financial state. Take a note against your car. I don't know how much your car is worth, but I'm gonna assume that you're probably already paying on some kind of car loan, many of you. And if not, then it's probably an relatively older car. It's paid off, and, like, I don't know how much you're gonna get, but it's probably not gonna buy you a house. But okay, sure, it's an option. It's one thing, you know. If you combine a few of these, maybe you could pull it off. This one I don't even understand, and he does not explain it. These are literally bullet points. Like, there is no expansion on any of this. I'm reading this list right here. So there's just no, they're literally just little bullet points with no explanation on how to do them, what they are, anything like that. Find someone with a self-directed IRA, which is an individual retirement account, and borrow from them. So I have a Roth IRA. It's self-directed. I don't know why because I have that, I don't know why that would mean someone could borrow from me. Is he suggesting that they should borrow from my retirement account? Like, I should take money out of my retirement account, which there is a penalty for if you do before a certain age, and loan it to them instead? Like, as a hard money loan? I don't fully understand, but maybe. Here we go. Borrow against your own retirement plan when applicable. And then he says, use seller financing for the short term. That's going to be pretty rare. Let me take back what I just said about him not expanding on any of these. I finished reading this book months ago, so it's not as fresh in my brain as it would have been if I did this sooner. But I do think he actually goes through and does explain a lot of these types of financing and different options in the buy section of the book. So you can find out more information about that. Seller financing is like the person selling the property is also going to finance the loan. Very rare circumstance, because usually when they're selling it, it's because they want the money, not because they'd be willing to give you the property and the money. It's like both. I mean, they get paid interest, so if that's worth it to them, maybe they would want to do that, but I can't imagine it would be a very reasonable interest rate to convince them to do that. So and again, he says for the short term, which automatically implies a higher interest rate. So that is the buy component. Then there's the rehab component. So if you aren't going to be doing a lot of the work yourself, which obviously if you do it yourself, it's going to be a lower cost, but it's also going to be a much bigger investment of time and energy. So this is where we tie into rock stars again, knowing the right people, knowing rock star contractors that are really good at what they do. They have good craftsmanship, good quality, good service, and they're efficient. They get their work done quickly. They do a good job and they do it quickly in a reasonable amount of time, and they charge a reasonable, fair rate. This is very difficult to find, because if you have a person who's really good at what they do and they do it really efficiently, usually they charge a premium amount because they're worth it. So it's difficult to also find someone who's going to charge like a low price and do good work and do it quickly. So it's a really interesting, intricate balancing act. And when you find that rock star contractor, you want to keep them for all they're worth. And also there's gonna be like handymen, like general laborer contractor type people, and then you're also going to need people with certain types of licenses to do certain types of work, like electricians or plumbers, certain things that a general handyman may not want to do or not have the right and like the right licensing and legal right to do it. So then you rehab it, you flip it. He does dive into what makes the most sense to do, like what's important to flip, and making sure that you don't overdo it. So my mom is in real estate and she's done some flips herself. And I think this is an area that she really struggles in because my mom watches a lot of HGTV. And if you've never seen HGTV, then let me give you a quick rundown. Have you ever heard of the show Trading Spaces? Or I actually don't know the names of most of these shows. I grew up with her watching this stuff all the time. It's a lot of interior design. There's a lot of like multi-million-dollar homes, multi-million-dollar budgets, and really nice aesthetics, really beautiful homes. And so my mom, when she flips a house, I think she overdoes it. She does more than needs to be done to make it look really nice, and then put a price that's too high that no one's willing to pay it. So then she has to lower the price so much that her profit ends up being a lot smaller, because people don't really care about the house looking really nice as much as they care about being able to afford it, and then just wanting to move into it. Like they want a functional bathroom, a functional kitchen, and a clean enough, nice enough looking living room, bedroom kind of area. They're not usually, depending on what market you're in, generally like where my mom is doing her real estate and her network is like lower middle class. It's like your average working class or middle class people. It's not people who care too much about the interior design and like the light fixtures and these kinds of things. So when it comes to the rehab, you want to be lean and mean. You want to fix what needs to be fixed. You want to fix it as like low cost as possible. Now, you don't want it to be cheap. You don't want to go cheap on everything, because then you're just going to have to fix it again like every few months or every year. And then you don't want to go too bougie and too luxurious with it, because then you're just wasting money on something you don't need. Now, in this chapter, he talks about where you actually can afford to go a little bit bougie on certain things that don't cost as much as you might think. Like again, it's been a while since I read it, and I'm not quite ready to do this myself just yet. I just bought my first property. You're looking at it. Not ready to rent it to anyone yet. It was already rehabbed before I moved into it, and I'm living in it. So I'm not quite there yet, but maybe next year or the year after we'll be digging more deep into these things. So off the top of my head, one of the examples was like nice tile, like certain high quality tile is really good because it just holds up a lot better and it looks really nice when people are walking through a home or looking at pictures. It just really stands out for being quality. And because like the bathrooms and the kitchens are so heavily used every single day, people are using their bathrooms and going, they're taking showers and they're making food, they're in the kitchen. So you want good quality materials that are going to hold up to a lot of wear and tear, because your tenants aren't going to care as much about taking care of tiles as you would, as they would if they owned it themselves. So you have to be prepared for having to repair and replace things. So quality is going to go really far in certain areas. And then he was talking about how, like, if you're using quality tile in one place, then maybe you could use it in the other if you need to replace the tiles in both. And then they can often be used for like backsplashes or for like detailing in the bathrooms. And if you're already buying the tile, then it's like you can just use like the excess, the leftover, or you know, if you're buying like a certain amount at once, you can get kind of a deal if you're going to buy a bunch. You can also get the contractors or handymen to give you like a deal to do all of the projects with them and get like a discounted rate than if you were to piecemeal out each project separately. So he kind of gives you some ideas. In certain instances, if you really have to like dig out all the plumbing for the shower, then if you're already in there, then putting in like a rainfall shower can be a worthy investment if you're already in there anyway. If you're not having to go in there, then it's not worth it. But if you're in there anyway, it's like a little bit more to put in this bougie fancy shower that you can promote. Things like, he talks about like dog walks, I think they're called, where if you put like some fence, like if you have if your property is kind of close to the property next to it, and you put like a little chain link fence around this little bit of yard, you can call it like a dog walk area. And you know, it just gives you like a little advantage, and it makes you stand out against the properties that are in the area, and it gives you like little bullet point items that are a little bit of an upgrade. It just gives you more selling points and selling features that don't break the bank. So he talks about how to do that efficiently and effectively. The next step is renting the property once your rehab is done. He talks about too how to like manage the timelines and the estimates for all of the rehab. Then when you get to the rent piece, the biggest piece here is like getting good tenants. You want tenants who are going to pay their rent, they're going to stay a long time, and they're going to take good care of the property. Those are your ideal tenants. People who can afford the rent and will pay it on time. People who are planning, not going to just live there for a couple months and then leave, and you have to, you know, get it ready for another tenant every couple of months. You want people who are going to stay for at least a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. The longer the better. And someone who's going to be like clean enough and respectful enough of your property that it's not going to be completely destroyed and ruined when they do move out, and that you'll have to like do a whole nother rehab. So he talks about how to find good tenants, how to manage tenants, how to manage being a good landlord when there's a problem, you know, making sure that you respond quickly and effectively, like, because word of mouth too, like if your tenant and you have a really good relationship, when they do move out, which ultimately, if you really care about a person, you don't want them to be stuck being a tenant forever unless they want to be. But if their goal is to buy their own place, then you would want that for them as well. So when they do get to that point where they're like, all right, I'm buying my house, I'm not going to be renting from you anymore, that you're like happy for them, you're supportive, and then they could potentially even refer someone, or even just being a good reference, just a good word of mouth to say like, you know, my landlord is awesome, he's always really responsive, always takes care of everything that I need, rent has been kept reasonable, you know, everything has been like really good. And maybe they have a friend who's looking for a place to rent, or a family member, or their own child, or who knows, you know. So it's just like having that good strong network, being the kind of person that you want to attract into your sphere. Then once you have your tenant, you can use that income of the rent to refinance the property. So now the property should be worth more than it was when you bought it because of rehabbing it. And on top of that, you have cash flow coming in from it. So not only is it worth more just in terms of not being all dilapidated fixer-upper anymore, but now it also has a paying tenant. So these things look great to a bank. An appraiser loves the way that the property is being cared for and maintained, and the bank loves that there's cash flow already coming from the property. So you use those two things to refinance the property. So whatever loan or whatever you had going on, you can now refinance, and you can use that as leverage to getting another property, which is why the step after refinancing is repeat. You refinance it, you take the money out of that, you know, you clear out whatever kind of like higher interest loans you had going on, any contractors you need to pay, or, you know, whatever bills come from this, try to clear that out so you don't have high interest. Like if you have like a credit card with Lowe's or Home Depot or something, you don't want to carry balances on credit cards. That is not a good idea. That's not going to help you create wealth. You want to kind of clear out from that property. So then now there's like very low debt, you know, there's the mortgage, but outside of that, you're mostly just getting cash flow. Obviously, the rent should be higher than the mortgage payments and the property tax, whatever else you are including with the rent, whether you include like water, sewer, garbage, these kinds of things. And then you take that money that you pull out from the refinancing of that property and you go find another one. And you do it all again, which is what repeat means. And that is the BRRRR method. That's the BRRRR strategy, BRRRR, the BRRRR Rental Property Investment Strategy by David Greene. I hope you enjoyed this book review. If you did, please click that link in the description to support this channel. Even $5 goes a long way. $50 goes further. I love you guys. You are worthy of being loved and feeling comfortable in your own skin. Let me know in the comments what other kinds of books you'd like me to read, what other kinds of content you'd like to see me put out. I have been doing chatting streams on TikTok every day and Twitch regularly, so I'm always changing like where I'm streaming on and what I'm streaming, so you know, try to click all the links in the description for all my socials so you don't miss anything. And I also have an email list where I will send out a written review of this book as well as all of the other books that I read, and I send those out a couple times a year. So you can see the written version. It'll have links to the YouTube videos I do for the book reviews. If you look here on YouTube, you'll see the books playlist and the investing playlist, so you can see previous works that I've already done, books I've already read, see if I've already read something you would wonder what I think about or what the book is about. And let me know what you want to hear more of. I also have a podcast called Next Talks. I like to talk about different subjects over there as well. So yeah, let me know what you like, what you're into, and I hope to see you guys very soon. This has been A Moment in Time with Nex. Exprime medium. Squeeze the day. Good night, y'all. See you on the next one. Oh, click the wrong button. Ah! There we go. Bye-bye now.